Hi everyone, welcome to the Museum of Worldwide Art. Today we are going to explore the many art forms we have looked at in class and see what we have learnt from the pieces we have made. Let's begin. Now Michael Essen is our first artist that we get to see today, and as you can see, they are very different to what we would normally see when we do art. Can you tell me what this artist has used to create these artworks? Yes, he has used coloured pencil, exactly like what we have at school. He has also used charcoal. Do you remember using charcoal at school? The dark outlines of the shapes are used to make them stand out against the white background. In the painting on the left, the colour that pops out the most is red. And this artist was also a doctor, so as you can see, there are many body parts in his artwork. On the right, there's pops of yellow and lots of detail in the face. Now in the classroom, we created sketches using pencil to show light and dark, similar to what Michael Essen would have done in his artworks. We did artworks of fruit. Do you remember doing hatching and cross-hatching? This makes the object look three-dimensional, making it look like there is light and shadow in the image. Let's move on to the next art form, which is painting. And the artist we're looking at is Margaret Preston. The painting we can see now is an oil painting called Still Life. And she has painted some fruit. Now there's a lot of colour bursting through on this one and lots of detail in the fruit. Compared to the last artwork, this painting is very traditional and almost looks like a photo because the fruit is drawn to the exact scale and looks very appetizing. Margaret has used darker colours on the edges to make it 3D and lighter colours to show reflected light, creating texture. The black outline around the still life objects makes the fruit stand out. Now these techniques that Margaret has used, we used to create a cactus. We created value by adding yellow to the edges of the cactus, making it lighter and then 3D. We also blended the colours in the background, the red and the blue, to make the cactus stand out, and the black lines helped this as well. Now moving on to the next artist is George Braque, and he does printmaking. As you can see, there's some more fruit as the subject of this artwork, but in a different way. This artist was very abstract in his work and used a variety of techniques to create shape. The painting on the left is very simple, using birds and a blue background. He used a lithograph, which was used back in his time, drawing on limestone with crayon and then putting ink and then stamping that onto paper. Now if you remember back in class, we did something similar but using a plastic sleeve. We painted onto the sleeve, then stamped that onto paper, creating a form of print. Now, walking to the next artist, this is John Kelly and he made sculptures. Aren't these strange? They are so different and even a little bit funny. It's a cow in a tree. This is seen in Melbourne, and if anyone's been to Melbourne before, you probably would have seen it. It is made out of bronze and he even did some out of paper mache. And I think they are very cool. They are enormous in size and shape. Now, there's a background to the story of why he created this artwork, and it was influenced by his Australian culture. However, he was very humorous, and this shows in his art. Now, in class, we created figures similar to John Kelly, out of cans and bottles. Obviously not as big as the cow in a tree, but made in a similar way. We used paper and glue and paint and decorations to design our creatures. On to our next art practice is ceramics, and this artist's name is Bethany Kroll. She creates animals using clay such as porcelain. Now these two ceramics here are of a chameleon and of some ducks. Now she doesn't use colour because she wants to show the features of the animal and not draw away from this with colour. The smooth surface of the clay shows the detail and exact proportion and shape of the animal. To do this, Bethany would have used tools and techniques similar to what we would have used in the classroom. Do you remember using clay in the classroom? We created figures such as a snowman. Now to do this, we rolled clay using rolling pins and safety pins for finer detail. We joined the round shapes together using wet clay such as slurry and used cross-hatching like we did in sketching to mould them together. For hollow shapes, we used little rolls of clay called coils to ensure those little details wouldn't fall off once they were dry. We painted ours in different colours, but Bethany would have painted hers in a clear or white colour. As we move around the corner, our next art form is digital. This artist uses the form photography, and her name is Olive Cotton. As you can see, they are photographs of black and white, and these artworks reflect the artist's interest of nature and landscape. Olive uses black and white in her pictures to reveal the subject focus. On the left, we have a dandelion as the feature. The contrast to the blurry background and the dandelion makes it stand out. And the photograph taken from the angle below makes the scale of the plant look very large. The image on the right plays with light and shadow. The repetition of teacups makes the photo balanced. The viewpoint of the picture was taken to make the shadow of the teacups look large and long. If you remember in the classroom, we took photos using the iPads of the nature around the school. When we came back into the room, we edited these photos to different colours. And these artworks and art form are similar to what we would have done. Now our last work is by Magdalena, and the art form is textiles. She uses three-dimensional artworks. On the left, there's artworks called Come, and they're gigantic figures made of fibre. The other work on the right is bright red, made from exactly the same material. They are two very different works, but the artist started with the one on the right and broke tradition by making them 3D. The texture created from these artworks is amazing, and it makes you want to go up and touch it and feel the softness and the bumpiness. The use of weaving warp and weft to make the structure really catches your eye. Now there's lots of meaning behind these artworks, as she was influenced by her life experiences. Do you remember when we did weaving? We used paper plates and went over and under to create a circle, just like Magdalena would have done in her artwork. And we also used a toilet paper roll. We went over, behind the paddle pop stick. Isn't it cool that we are doing the same things that these artists are doing? Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you learn a lot about some of these artists and their art forms.